$55,000. That's how much my brother took from me before disappearing. I found the evidence scattered all over the guest room floor like confetti from a bad dream. Bank slips. Everyone signed with my name, but not by me. $20,000 here, $35,000 there. My hands shook so hard I could barely hold them. The room was empty. His suitcase, I'm gone. His clothes, gone. Even the photo frames I'd placed on the dresser, pictures of us as kids laughing at Cannon Beach, all empty. Just glass reflecting my pale face. On the pillow lay a note. Sorry, Selena. Cassandra says we need a new start. Don't look for us. Dorian was 41, and he had run away like a thief in the night. I fell onto the bed, clutching the forged slips to my chest, struggling to breathe. Then pawned footsteps downstairs, light and quick. My 12-year-old son was awake, smiling. Mom? Rowan stood at the door, still wearing his wrinkled Star Wars shirt, hair sticking up on one side. His eyes locked on the papers in my hands. What happened? Where's Uncle Dorian? I couldn't speak. 3 months ago, Dorian had shown up broke and desperate after losing his job in Seattle. I let him stay. I trusted him. Now he was gone, with $55,000 and a woman who didn't even exist. Rowan stepped closer, his bare feet quiet on the carpet. He crouched beside me and picked up one of the withdrawal slips, his face calm. Too calm. Mom, don't worry. I took care of it. What? My voice broke. Took care of what? He pulled out a phone I'd never seen before. Sleek, black, expensive. With a few swipes, he showed me a mugshot. A woman with dark hair and cold eyes stared back. Catherine Voss. Wanted in Nevada, California, and Arizona for fraud, identity theft, and assault. That's Cassandra, Rowan said. She's a con artist. Uncle Dorian's been talking to her every night for 2 weeks. I tracked his phone, copied his messages, found her real name, and sent everything to the Portland police this morning. You what? I tracked his location too. Mom, he's heading south on I-5. They'll stop him before Eugene. My 12-year-old son had just confessed to hacking his uncle's phone, like it was homework. How? I whispered. How do you even know how to do that? He shrugged, sliding the phone into his pocket. YouTube. Reddit. It's easy if you know where to look. Public records are free. I just connected the dots. His voice was so calm, so emotionless, like he was explaining how to make a sandwich. I stared at him, this boy who still asked for hot chocolate with extra marshmallows. For the first time, a chill ran down my spine. Rowan, you can't just... But a loud knock downstairs cut me off. 3 hard hits, official. Final. I stood, legs trembling, and went down the stairs. Rowan followed silently. Through the frosted glass, I saw 2 people in Navy uniforms. My heart pounded. I opened the door. Mrs. Marlowe? The taller one asked. He had kind eyes but a firm voice. I'm Detective Halverson, Portland Police Bureau. This is Officer Diaz. May we come in? I nodded. They stepped into the living room. Rowan slipped into the armchair near the window, hands folded neatly in his lap like a little gentleman. Detective Halverson opened a folder on the coffee table. We got a tip early this morning about your brother. Dorian Marlowe. He was arrested at a gas station off I-5, about 40 miles south. He was with a woman we identified as Catherine Voss. My stomach dropped. I looked at Rowan. He didn't move, didn't blink, just watched. Officer Diaz spread a stack of photos on the table. Blurry surveillance shots. Dorian at an ATM downtown, his face clear under harsh light. Catherine beside him, leaning close. Another photo, him at a bank counter signing my name. Then the printed records. Withdrawal after withdrawal. My account drained in less than 2 days. These were made between Tuesday night and Thursday morning, Halverson said steadily. Your brother used forged documents and inside knowledge of your account. We think Miss Voss coached him to bypass security. I pressed my hand over my mouth, nausea rising. Oh God, I whispered. How could he do this? Halverson's eyes softened. Someone was watching out for you, Mrs. Marlowe. The tip we received included GPS data, travel plans, and text messages between your brother and Miss Voss about their route to Mexico. Without that intel, they'd have crossed the border by noon. I felt Rowan's gaze on me but couldn't look at him. What happens now? I asked. Your brother's being held at Multnomah County Jail. Forgery and identity theft are serious. 5 to 10 years if convicted. Miss Voss will be sent to Nevada first for her warrants. As for your money, we've frozen their accounts. You'll recover most of the money within 30 days. Relief hit me, but it felt empty. Thank you, I said quietly. Thank you so much. Halverson stood, tucking the folder under his arm. We'll need you to come to the station tomorrow to give your full statement. Until then, you're safe. He glanced at Rowan, still sitting perfectly still in the armchair. You've got a smart kid there, he said, nodding toward him. Take care of each other. The moment the door closed, silence filled the house like thick fog. I turned to Rowan. He stared at the floor, face blank. Rowan, I began, my voice trembling. What you did? I don't even know where to start. He looked up, and for a second, something flickered behind his eyes. Not guilt, not fear. Something colder. I did what I had to, Mom. He stole from us. Someone had to stop him. But you're 12, I whispered. You shouldn't have to. I know. He cut in softly, his voice calm but firm. But I could. So I did. He stood and brushed past me toward the kitchen. I'm hungry. Do we have any cereal left? I stood frozen, my thoughts spinning like broken glass. That night, after Rowan went to bed, I found a letter on the counter. It was folded neatly, Uncle written across the front in Rowan's careful handwriting. My hands trembled as I opened it. Dear Uncle Dorian, I forgive you for stealing from us. I forgive you for choosing a criminal over your family. But forgiveness isn't forgetting. Prison has rules. You never liked rules, but maybe they'll finally teach you. You belong there, because out here, you only hurt the people who care about you. If you ever try to come back, if you even think about hurting Mom or Grandma again, I'll finish what you started. You tied your own noose when you forged her name. I'll just make sure it holds. Love, Rowan. I read it 3 times. My chest grew tighter each time. Those words weren't written by a child. They came from someone who understood exactly how to wound, someone who could mix mercy with menace. Forgiveness, sharpened into a weapon. I folded the letter with shaking hands and set it down. Upstairs, Rowan's door clicked shut. And in that silence, I realized something terrifying. I was afraid of my own son. 3 nights later, my phone rang just after midnight. I grabbed it, heart pounding. Multnomah County Jail. Mrs. Marlowe, a woman's voice said briskly. This is Nurse Patterson at OSU Hospital. Your brother Dorian was brought in from the jail an hour ago. He's stable, but he's asking for you. What happened? There was an incident in his cell. He's being treated for injuries to his neck and ribs. He says it's urgent. I threw on clothes and grabbed my keys. Before I reached the door, Rowan's door opened. He was already dressed, shoes on, eyes clear. I'm coming with you, he said. It wasn't a question. The drive through the empty streets took 20 minutes. Rowan stared out the window, silent. At the hospital, a nurse led us down a long hallway that smelled like bleach. Dorian lay in the bed, skin gray, bruises circling his throat. When he saw me, panic filled his eyes. Selena, he rasped, each word cutting his breath. You have to listen. Watch your boy. I moved closer. Dorian, what are you talking about? He knew everything, Dorian whispered, his eyes darting toward Rowan in the doorway. Before I even did it. Cassandra told me, and your son scared her. She said he could see through her. He knew our plan. I gripped the bed rail. You're paranoid. You made your choices. He's not normal, Dorian gasped. Whatever you think he is, you're wrong. Before I could answer, my mother burst in. Martha rushed to Dorian's side, smoothing his hair. Then she turned to me, eyes blazing. Don't listen to him, she said sharply. He's blaming a child to escape what he's done. Rowan's the only good thing left in this family. Mom, I started. She cut me off. He betrayed us. Now he's making excuses. Let's go. He needs rest, not more lies. I looked at Dorian's terrified face, then at my mother's unshakable one. Finally, I turned to Rowan. He stood perfectly still, hands in his pockets, face calm. Come on, Mom, he said softly. Grandma's right. Uncle Dorian just needs to sleep. As we walked out, Dorian's voice echoed down the hall, weak and broken. Watch your boy, Selena. Watch your boy. In the parking lot, under harsh lights, my mother squeezed my hand. Don't let him trick you. He's always been good at that. I nodded, unable to speak. The next morning, the phone rang while I was making coffee. Selena. The voice on the other end was sharp and poisonous. My blood went cold. I know who tipped off the cops, she hissed. Your brother might have been dumb enough to fall for it, but I'm not. If you think you're safe, you're not. I'll tell Dorian the truth. I'll tell him what his precious nephew really is. Before I could react, Rowan plucked the phone from my hand. Calm, expressionless, he pressed it to his ear. "If you really knew anything," he said, voice low and steady, "you wouldn't be calling from a burner phone. You'd be running." A pause. Then a muffled curse. The line went dead. Rowan handed the phone back. His face didn't change. "She's bluffing, Mom. Scammers always try to scare you when they're desperate." "How did you know it was her?" I whispered. He shrugged. "Who else would call?" "Don't worry, she's got nothing. But I saw it, just for a second, before his calm mask slipped back into place. A flicker. Not fear, not anger. Something else. Panic, maybe, then it was gone. See?" he said, heading upstairs. Handled. I stood alone in the kitchen, the dial tone humming in the silence. And I finally understood the truth that made my hands shake. I didn't know my son at all. And worse, I was starting to fear him. That evening, I saw Rowan sitting at the kitchen table, a notebook open before him. His pen moved steadily across the page, his brows pulled tight in focus. He didn't notice me standing in the doorway. "Homework?" I asked. He shook his head without looking up. "Just some strategy stuff." I stepped closer. On the page was a perfectly drawn chessboard. But something felt wrong. Every pawn had moved forward, all turned into queens. In one corner sat a lone king, surrounded with nowhere to run. "What's this?" I asked, my voice tense. Rowan looked up, tilting his head. "It's an endgame, Mom. Pawns aren't weak if they keep moving forward." He tapped the paper. The king never saw it coming. I sank into the chair across from him. "Rowan, you're 12. You're not supposed to carry everything alone. You should talk to someone, a counselor. There have to be limits." He didn't react. "If that's what you want, sure, I'll go. I'll say all the right things." "That's not what I mean," I said quickly. "I want you to be honest. To feel like a kid again." He put his pen down, eyes far too old for his face. "I can do that, Mom, as long as no one threatens us again." His calm voice made my chest tighten. It wasn't a promise. It was a condition. I stood, legs trembling, and walked to the counter where his letter to Dorian sat hidden beneath the mail. My hands shook as I picked it up. "This letter, were you planning to send it?" Rowan stayed calm. "Only if he needed a reminder. Does he?" I asked quietly. "Need one?" He smiled faintly. "I don't think so. Not anymore. Prison will teach him what he needs." I stared at my son, the boy who still asked for extra blankets at night. He had planned everything. The recordings, the call to the police, even the letter. None of it came from anger. It was all strategy. "Rowan," I whispered. "What happened to you? What made you like this?" He blinked, and for a moment the mask slipped. I saw something beneath, and not cruelty, not hate, but deep, aching loneliness. Then it was gone. "Nothing happened, Mom. I just learned how to keep us safe." "That's what family does, right?" My throat burned. "Yes," I said softly. "That's what family does." I went upstairs to the fireproof safe where we kept birth certificates and papers that couldn't be lost. I placed Rowan's letter inside, beneath the stack, and turned the key. The click sounded final. I was choosing silence, choosing to protect my son, even though I didn't understand what I was protecting him from. Or protecting others from. When I came back down, Rowan was washing dishes, humming quietly. He turned, smiling, bright and innocent. I forced a smile back. The notebook still lay open on the table. The chessboard, the pawns turned to queens, the trapped king. The next morning, my phone buzzed. A text from the hospital. Dorian had been moved to the medical ward at the county jail. Recovering, stable. No visitors except his lawyer. I set the phone down, hands trembling. Upstairs, Rowan's alarm rang. His light steps crossed the floor. I heard the shower turn on, his off-key singing. Some pop song from the radio. Any other 12-year-old getting ready for school. But I knew better now. I looked out the kitchen window. The street was calm. Neighbors walking dogs, kids waiting for the bus. Everything looked normal, safe. And as the morning light filled the kitchen, I wondered what game my son was still playing. Was I a player? Or just another piece on his board? And worst of all, but did I even want to know the answer? 3 weeks passed. The money was returned to my account, minus legal fees. Dorian's trial was set for late spring. Catherine Voss was sent back to Nevada for her old charges. Life on the surface looked normal again. Rowan went to school, did homework, played games online with his friends. He helped fold laundry on Sundays and asked what was for dinner like any other kid. My mother came over every Saturday morning, smiling at her grandson. She said how proud she was of him, how he'd saved our family, how God works through the innocent. I smiled, nodded, and poured more coffee. One Saturday, I woke to the smell of pancakes. I walked to the kitchen and found Rowan at the stove, flipping golden circles onto a plate. His hair messy, bare feet on the tile, humming off-key. "Morning, Mom," he said, sliding a plate toward me. "Coffee's ready, too." My mother was already seated, halfway through her stack, syrup pooling around her plate. "This boy," she said, smiling. "What would we do without him?" Rowan grinned, that same innocent smile I'd known since he was little, and passed her the butter. I sat down, fork in hand, steam rising from my plate. He looked at me for just a second, and in that short glance I saw it again. That sharp, knowing look. The quiet control of someone who always understood exactly what he was doing. Then he laughed at something my mother said, and the moment vanished. I cut into my pancakes, but the taste turned to ash in my mouth. Outside, the sun climbed over Portland. Birds sang. The neighborhood slowly woke, peaceful and ordinary. And I sat there, surrounded by the people I loved most, knowing I had made my choice. Silence was safety. Even if I didn't know what would come next. Even if I feared the truth. What game was he playing now? I didn't know. And maybe I told myself that was for the best. Maybe some truths are safer buried. If this story stayed with you, if it made you wonder how far you'd go to protect someone you love, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever chosen between truth and family? Between what's right and what's safe? Tell your story below. And if you want more haunting tales that linger long after the screen fades, subscribe. Because sometimes the scariest monsters aren't the ones we fight. They're the ones we raise.